You're approaching retirement feeling good about your IRA because you won't have to touch it. You need to know that doing nothing is actually one of the most expensive decisions you can make. I'm PJ Gibbs, a financial advisor and the founder of Trello Wealth. And on this channel, I help high earners protect the wealth they've built from tax mistakes most people don't see coming. Today, I'm going to show you the transition window between ages 60 and 75, why it's the only period where you actually control the tax rate on your IRA money, and what it costs you if you let it close. Most people understand, at least at some level, that the IRS eventually forces you to withdraw money from your traditional IRA or 401k. What they don't fully appreciate is what that forcing mechanism actually looks like in practice. A required minimum distribution, or RMD, is the IRS telling you, hey, we gave you a tax deduction when you put that money in, and now we want our share of your account. Starting at a government-mandated age, you must withdraw a calculated amount every year, whether you need it or not. Under Secure Act 2.0, that starting age depends on when you were born. If you were born between 1951 and 1959, RMDs begin at 73. If you were born in 1960 or later, your RMD age is 75, effective 2033. That 2-year difference sounds small. Over a decade of compounding, though, it's not. And the calculation isn't arbitrary. The IRS divides your account balance by a life expectancy factor from the Uniform Lifetime Table. At age 75, that factor is 24.6, which means a $2.4 million IRA generates roughly $97,561 in mandatory distributions at first year alone. And every dollar is taxed as ordinary income. Yes, an additional $100,000, whether you need it or not. Now, a JP Morgan asset management analysis of more than 31,000 defined contribution participants that used EBRI data found that 84% of retirees at RMD age took only that minimum amount. And roughly 80% hadn't touched their accounts at all until they were forced to start. They think that they're being disciplined. They feel like they're letting the money compound. Both of those things are true, but they're also building a larger mandatory tax bill than they ever had to pay. I'll show you the math on that in a minute. The problem with large RMDs isn't just the RMD itself, it's what it collides with. Picture a couple who retires, claims Social Security at 67, and by age 75 has $52,000 in joint Social Security income. When RMDs hit, up to 85% of that benefit will be taxable, which means that income is already consuming a significant portion of the $32,200 standard deduction for married couples filing jointly. If you add $97,000 in RMDs on top of it, this couple is suddenly in the 22% bracket, potentially even triggering Medicare's income-related surcharge, IRMA, which could add hundreds of extra dollars per month in Part B and Part D premiums based on income from 2 years ago. So if you haven't thought it through and don't know what all of your income is, there's 3 separate tax events that can stack on one another, none of which are visible until it's too late to do anything about them. Now here's the thing most people miss. It's that there's a window where none of that has happened yet. Between the time you retire or scale back work, roughly somewhere between age 60 to 65, and the time that RMDs begin at 75, the thing that most people miss is that there's a window where none of this has happened yet. Between the time you retire or scale back at roughly age 60 to 65, and the time RMDs begin at 75 for those born after 1960, your taxable income is often the lowest it will be for the rest of your life. You're not drawing Social Security, you're not taking RMDs, your brackets are wide open. The IRS's 2026 12% bracket for married couples filing jointly goes from $24,800 all the way up to $100,800. That's not empty space, that's opportunity. It's the cheapest tax rate you'll ever see on that IRA money, but it's only available for a limited time. Most people waste it entirely simply by doing nothing. Let's go through a hypothetical scenario. We've got 2 couples, the Millers and the Garcias. Both retire at 65 with $1.5 million in a traditional IRA, $400,000 in a brokerage account, and joint Social Security of $52,000, which they plan to start at 67. The same assets, same income, but they make different decisions. Both are born after 1960, so their RMDs begin at 75. The Millers do what most people do. They take no distributions from the IRA during the transition years. They let it compound at 6% annually. By age 75, their IRA has grown to approximately $2.4 million. With the IRS factor of 24.6, their first RMD is roughly $97,561. That lands on top of Social Security. And with 85% of Social Security being taxable, their combined income pushes them solidly into the 22% bracket. And they might even get exposure to IRMA on top of that. Every year after that, the IRA continues to grow even faster than the RMDs reduce it in the early years, meaning the mandatory distributions get bigger, not smaller. Through age 85, a significant portion of their lifetime federal tax bill is paid at rates they never had to accept. The Garcias make one different decision during ages 65 through 74. They decide to convert $80,000 per year from the traditional IRA to a Roth IRA, paying taxes at the 12% and low 22% brackets during the transition window while their income is low. 10 years of $80,000 conversions moves $800,000 into the Roth, with that money no longer compounding in the traditional IRA. The traditional IRA balance at 75 sits around $1.3 million rather than the $2.4. Their first RMD is approximately $54,472, which stays inside the 12% bracket even after Social Security is layered in. Meanwhile, the converted funds have continued growing in the Roth, completely tax-free with no future RMDs ever required. Estimated lifetime federal tax difference between these two households through age 85 is approximately $118,000, not counting the additional tax-free terminal value of the Roth growth. The Millers aren't financially irresponsible. They just think their situation is simpler than it is, not recognizing the complexity inherent to people who have accumulated serious wealth in pre-tax accounts. They think they'll deal with it at 75, but by 75, you've missed the only window where you control the answer. One more thing, and I want to be direct about this because it matters if protecting your family is part of why you save this money in the first place. When your heirs inherit a traditional IRA, they don't get the tax-deferred luxury you had. Under the 10-year rule established by the Secure Act, most non-spouse beneficiaries must fully distribute the inherited IRA within 10 years of your death. If your kids are in their peak earning years, say ages 45 to 60, when they inherit a $2.4 million traditional IRA, every dollar they pull out is taxed as ordinary income on top of their own salaries. The IRA you built as a gift to your family becomes an accelerant for their tax bills, not yours. The Garcias Roth, by contrast, passes to their heirs completely income tax free, and the 10-year distribution window for a Roth gives those heirs 10 years of additional tax-free growth before they're required to empty it. That's not a small thing. That's the difference between a legacy and a tax liability. If you were somewhere between 60 and 75 right now, the window is open, but it doesn't announce itself, and it doesn't stay open forever. The core of what I want you to take away is this. The transition window between retirement and RMD age is the only period where you control the tax rate on your pre-tax IRA money. And most people let it close without ever making a deliberate decision. To find out where you stand and whether there's still time to act, complete the retirement readiness scorecard in the description below, or schedule a call with me directly from the link in the description.